Man City are broken. A string of uncharacteristically poor results has laid bare the cracks in their squad building decisions over recent years. Right now, there's no magic fix within the current squad to restore City as title contenders. It's not as simple as hoping a few players step up, nor will a clever tactical tweak solve the deeper issues. The reality is clear. City need reinforcements. Back in the summer, I suggested the team needed 3 key signings: a proper replacement for Gundogan, an upgrade on Kyle Walker, and a versatile forward. We didn't get any of them. Now, with the winter transfer window open, I think adding 2 players is a realistic goal. 3 might be pushing it, so I'll focus on what I see as the 2 most urgent priorities: a 6'8 hybrid midfielder and a versatile defender. Let's start with the 6'8 hybrid. This is the most critical position for City to address. A true heir to Gundogan. We need someone who can play in place of Rodri and alongside him. A player who alleviates the physicality, ground covering, duel winning, second ball recovery and counter-pressing issues City's midfield currently experiences, whilst also being comfortable on the ball and as a progressive passer from deep. If I had my way, Bruno Guimaraes would already be a City player. I've spoken about him before, and he's still my number 1 choice for this role. He'd be perfect. But since I've already covered him extensively, let's consider other options. Remember, the bare minimum requirement here is someone who can do a job as a stand-in for Rodri in the short term, while simultaneously being a long-term option who can play alongside Rodri, complementing his strengths and covering his weaknesses. For this reason, I won't be recommending Zubimendi. Now, he's of course a great footballer and would be a great like-for-like replacement for Rodri. But we're not trying to replace Rodri. What we need is a player who can partner him, not double down on the same strengths and weaknesses. This is where Carlos Baleba comes in. He's young and still developing, particularly when it comes to his on-ball abilities. But he already possesses the physicality and transitional qualities City desperately needs. With the right coaching, I believe he could evolve into the perfect 6'8 hybrid for this team and the perfect partner for Rodri. Problem? Brighton are notoriously tough negotiators. They don't need to sell, and they'd likely demand a record-breaking fee, essentially saying Baleba is not for sale. In the summer, regardless of who we sign in January, City should look to try and make that deal a reality. But in terms of right now, who does that leave us with? My suggestion is someone who strikes a balance between youth and experience, a player with league title-winning pedigree, who could become one of the best box-to-box midfielders in the world. Bayer Leverkusen's Ezequiel Palacios. Palacios tends to play in a double pivot midfield, often alongside Granit Xhaka, and was a crucial member of the side which went invincible domestically. He's an Argentinian all-phase midfielder who possesses the out-of-possession and in-possession attributes City are desperate for. Let's start by looking at his off-ball traits, since off-ball has been the biggest weakness for City this season. We're terrible at winning duels, second balls, loose balls, our counter-pressing is poor, our athleticism and physicality is at an all-time low, we have no legs or recovery pace in the centre, and on top of all that, our current midfielders aren't good enough at sniffing out danger and engaging in defensive actions generally. Signing Palacios could go a long way in addressing those issues. His off-ball approach is the typical embodiment of a South American midfielder. Tenacious, hard-working, feisty, and not afraid to, for lack of a better phrase, get stuck in. But don't mistake him for a reckless player. Far from it. His ability to win duels is outstanding. Last season, across Europe's top 5 leagues, Palacios ranked in the top 1% for dual win rate among midfielders. Whether it's counter-pressing high up the pitch or making defensive stops near his own box, he's one of the best in Europe at coming out on top in those situations. Take a look at this graph. It plots offensive and defensive dual winning percentage, and I've highlighted a couple of relevant players for some context. Top right corner represents the elite in both categories. Here's Palacios, occupying a similar position to another of the game's great duel winners, Amadou Onana. This is the definition of a box-to-box duel winner. His running power and pace allow him to track back quickly to break up counterattacks, while his engine and intelligent positioning allows him to persistently press and cut off passing lanes, forcing turnovers and winning possession back for his team in dangerous areas. He is relentless, and that's exactly the kind of energy City's midfield is crying out for. Palacios wouldn't just improve our defensive work, he'd instantly raise the floor. He's in the top 1% for ball recoveries, the top 4% for tackles won, and he brings a level of grit and steel that's been missing from our squad. That said, he's not without flaws. He's not the strongest in aerial duels, which could be a concern. But even when he doesn't win those battles, he's clever at disrupting his opponent just enough to create second ball situations. Often, either a teammate cleans up, or Palacios himself wins the ball back. So defensively, he's brilliant. But let's not forget, City also desperately need a deep-lying passer. Right now, we've got too many carriers and not enough playmakers. Rodri used to bridge that gap between defence and attack, but without him, there's a real disconnect. Players like Foden and De Bruyne aren't receiving the ball quickly enough in those dangerous areas. Kovacic, for example, will win the ball back or receive it, but his instinct is to carry it rather than pass, which slows everything down. It's blunting our attack. This is where Palacios comes in. He's a natural pass-first player, a vertical creator who excels at through balls and progressive passes. And the data backs up the eye test. He's in the top 3% for through balls, top 4% for expected assists, and top 6% for progressive passes. That's not to say he can't carry, because he absolutely can, but this passing instinct is exactly what we need. Winning the ball back and immediately looking to play it forward. Haaland thrives on those kinds of deliveries. Foden needs the deeper players to have the confidence and ability to find him in tight pockets, and wingers like Savio will be more motivated to make runs if they know someone can actually pick them out. Palacios is the full package, an elite box-to-box midfielder who's as good going forward as he is defensively. Even his diagonal switches and long passes have shades of Rodri. He might not rack up tons of goals and assists, but he's the guy who plays the pass before the assist. And at this stage in his career, he's capable of adding around 10 combined goals and assists per season. City need this perfectly balanced midfielder, a hybrid player who can do everything. Check out this table. It compares midfielders from Europe's top 5 leagues last season, filtered by dual win percentage and volume of defensive actions. I've set it to the top 15% in each category. Already, only 21 players qualify, but we're not just after a dual winner and someone who's defensively engaged. We need forward passes. Now, there's only 5. And if I had forward pass percentage and progressive passes, Palacios stands alone. The data is incredibly impressive. His performances have been brilliant, and his profile is exactly what City needs. Whilst not a natural single pivot, he'd be a clear upgrade on Kovacic if we played the 3-1-6. If it was a box midfield, you could pair him with Kovacic behind Foden and De Bruyne. And when Rodri returns from injury, Palacios could help cover Rodri. But the best option would be to have Rodri played as the 6, with Palacios partnering him out of possession. And then let's say City deploy the 3-1-6 next season. You could have Rodri at the base, with Palacios on the right side, and then Foden and another player making up the rest of the midfield. That is what we call balance. A solution in both the short and long-term future of City. My biggest concern with Palacios, however, is his injury record isn't exactly pristine. He underwent knee surgery in early August, which sidelined him during the start of the Bundesliga season. But he has started 4 of the last 5 games for Leverkusen, and that included tricky fixtures against Bayern Munich and Inter. Leverkusen won all those games, and Palacios looked back to his best. Of course, none of this matters if signing Palacios isn't realistic. Leverkusen are chasing the Bundesliga title this season, so they'll understandably be reluctant to sell. That said, they do already have solid midfield depth with Xhaka, Andrić and Garcia. Their midfield duo tends to be Xhaka and then one of Andrić or Palacios. With a big enough bid, they could potentially bring in a replacement. In my view, it's worth exploring if the idea of signing Bruno Guimaraes or Baleba is a non-starter. Would he cost a fortune? Perhaps. We're probably looking at a figure of at least £80 million. But if City are serious about returning to their title-winning best, they need elite players. Nothing less will do. Bring that player in now, use the remainder of this season almost like a pre-season to get them integrated into the side, and look to challenge for the title next season. Then sign one of Bruno Guimaraes or Baleba in the summer, where it might be an easier deal to make, because to rebuild this midfield, we need at least 2 central midfielders. The next position City urgently need to address is right back. While City's problems go beyond Kyle Walker, it's clear he needs to be moved on. The ideal replacement should be a versatile, athletic defender who's just as comfortable slotting in at centre-back as they are operating on the right. They need to be good at defending the channels and playing as a right centre-back in possession, a centre-back and right-back out of possession, and ideally, they'd also have the ability to push up into advanced positions, much like Guardiola does on the left, to enable the false winger system and provide an added dimension to City's attack. In short, we're looking for someone who combines physicality and defensive utility with the ability to contribute offensively and provide systematic offensive function. I've recommended Simicon in the past, but he's now moved to the Saudi League. When scouting defenders in the summer, I considered Leo's Diakite, a fun but risky option, and I've contemplated Leipzig's Geertruida. However, for one reason or another, neither felt like the right fit for City. Monaco's Wilfried Singo, however, is. Singo is incredibly versatile defensively. In a back four, he's been used as a right back and a right-sided centre-back, and when Monaco use a back three, he often plays as the right-sided centre-back. So perfect for Guardiola. When scouting a right back for City who can also play as a centre-back, the biggest challenge is finding someone versatile enough to contribute in multiple areas. This isn't just about defending, it's about stepping into midfield, like Stones or Guardiola, or more likely, pushing up to the wing, like Guardiola does so effectively on the left. At Monaco, Singo isn't exactly that type of player. His standout qualities are defensive work and versatility. But here's the twist. He was that kind of player at Torino. To help make this video, I reached out to Alex Barker of The Athletic, also known as Euro Expert. As the name suggests, he's an expert in this area and has a particular interest in Ligue 1 players. Alex explains that at Torino, Singo was making waves as one of Europe's most promising wing-backs. He earned a reputation for his blistering pace and athleticism, constantly surging up and down the right flank. On top of that, he was a genuine and effective attacking threat. This is where things get interesting from a City perspective. If there's one glaring issue we've seen both last season and this season, it's the lack of a consistent right-sided presence, unless Savio plays this season. If Walker is expected to contribute offensively, nothing happens. Singo's experience as a high-flying right-back at Torino is therefore vital. What stands out about Singo in that role is his fearlessness. Take his crossing, for example. He's comfortable taking on defenders, knocking the ball past them, and delivering from various positions. He'll hit it first time or whip it in from deep. Compare that to Walker, who seems hesitant these days and only crosses in very specific scenarios, i.e. when the ball is presented to him on a plate. Singo is much more assertive. He's also a relentless runner, always willing to make those forward bursts, and he's a fantastic ball carrier. Once he gets going, good luck muscling him off the ball. While it doesn't match Guardiola's precision in passing, Singo's distribution is more than competent and has become quite incisive. As for goal scoring, it's not his primary strength. His best season saw him score 3 goals. But given the volume of set pieces City generate, and given our improvements at corners on the right side, it wouldn't surprise me if he were able to replicate a Laporte-like level of aerial goal threat. In terms of development, Singo's career trajectory is ideal for City. At Torino, he honed his craft as a high-energy wing-back, providing width and dangerous crosses. At Monaco, the focus has shifted toward defensive awareness, rounding out his game. Defensively, Singo impresses as well. He's incredibly active, excelling at counter-pressing and interceptions to regain possession. Given that Monaco even trusts him as a centre-back off the ball, it's clear his individual defensive qualities are solid. Physically, he's a beast. You better be a great dribbler if you want to get past Singo, because he rarely loses a physical battle. His recovery pace is also fantastic. Those powerful strides allow him to quell counterattacks, and those long legs are ideal for wrapping a challenge around an opponent. And in the air, Singo's dominance is undeniable. At 6'3", he's one of Europe's most commanding fullbacks, ranking in the top 2% for aerial duels won and the top 6 for win percentage. That kind of presence could solve one of City's most frustrating vulnerabilities. When the ball is crossed from the right to the far post, it almost always results in a dangerous opportunity. Walker isn't defensively aware enough to place himself in the correct position, and Lewis is often too short and weak to properly challenge. Singo will put a stop to that. That said, there is room for improvement in his one-on-one defending out wide. particularly against tricky dribblers. Sometimes he'll lose the initial duel, but use his explosiveness and strength to recover and win back possession. While it's great that he doesn't give up, I'd like to see him win more of those battles outright. Regardless, this is a really unique profile of player. Tall, quick, explosive running power, tireless work rate, strong, defensively intelligent enough to play as a right back and centre back, whilst offensively gifted enough to contribute and provide width higher up the pitch. With Guardiola on the left and Singo on the right, City would be spoilt for choice in respect of how they wish their on-ball shape to take hold. He'd also improve City's box defending, channel defending, athleticism and physicality, and ability to counter-press. His birthday is even on Christmas Day, so signing him in January as a Christmas present for City fans would be a lovely metaphor. So, those are the two players I feel Man City must sign this transfer window. Assuming Bruno Guimaraes and Baleba are off the table for now. Palacios is 26 and Singo 24. Both are already wonderful footballers, but have plenty of room to grow. If not these exact players, then others with a similar profile and level of quality. Will they instantly turn City back into title contenders? No, of course not. No single signing will. The squad needs much more work and the rebuild can't be completed overnight. But City needs to start the process now. The rest of this season should be used to integrate new signings, adapt the squad, attempt to qualify for the Champions League, and prepare for a summer window where further reinforcements can arrive. The goal to come back stronger and challenge for titles next season. Now, if you could only bring in 2 players to improve City for both the short and long term, who would you choose? Let me know your picks in the comments. As for Singo, the reason I'm so keen on him is that I genuinely believe he could transform City's right side in the same way Guardiola has changed the dynamic on the left. Guardiola has received a lot of criticism this season, but let's not forget how special a player he is. If you need a reminder of just how good he can be, check out this video next where I break down Guardiola's game in detail.